world-class remodeling tips. We give you all sorts of advice on how to remodel your kitchens, your bathrooms. We get you out of all sorts of engineering disasters around your house, and we do tool reviews. And today we're going to show you how to avoid that age-old problem of cracked tiles. Have you ever done an install and your tiles start cracking, or maybe the grout lines start cracking? Well, if you know anybody who's remodeling their house right now, you better tell them to stop what they're doing and come watch this first, because we're going to show you how to prevent the tile cracking from happening. So a typical scenario is when you're trying to tile upstairs in your house, you might be tiling over a wood subfloor about like this thickness here. And so you have your wood subfloor there. You're going to put down your coat of thin set mortar, and then you're going to lay your tiles on top of that, right? But what happens when there's flexion? And this happens in a lot of houses, people, I can tell you that. I've walked into numerous houses and you can actually feel the upper floor bouncing up and down. When you have flexion in that subfloor layer there, it causes your tile to crack. It just has nowhere to go, so it just cracks. If there's a grout line there and you get lucky, the grout line cracks. Okay, well, for several years we've been using this type of material here. So what you're looking at right here, this is a Schluter Ditra here, and this is an uncoupling membrane, and it's also a waterproofing membrane. And this is made specifically to tile right over wood flooring. And this right here is made specifically to tile directly over wood subfloors. So here's how it works. You would have your wood subfloor like that. Then you would cement down the Ditra product there, and then you put your thin set mortar over that, and then your tile goes on top of there. So by doing it this way here, this is an uncoupling membrane that allows the two planes to move separately. So the tile can move separately from the wood subfloor. So if the wood subfloor does any kind of moving, it should prevent any cracking. So if you take a closer look at the profiles here, there's your wood subfloor. You cement it down, right? And by having these filled with all the mortar there, you're essentially getting a whole bunch of concrete support piers. That's a good way to think of it there, right? And that will support the load of all of this tile floor above it. So by having this Schluter Ditra sandwiched in between these two layers here, we're isolating the two layers from each other. Now don't confuse this with a crack isolation membrane. This is not a crack isolation membrane. This is an uncoupling membrane. A crack isolation membrane would be more rubbery, and it would stretch and contract. Okay, so you can see here, if you look on the back, it's got a fleece built onto the back of it here, see? And so that bonds real nicely into the thin set mortar, so this will go nowhere. It will stay perfectly still. Okay, so if you've hired a tile installer and they're not putting something like this down on your wood subfloor on your second floor, and they're tiling, that guy probably doesn't know what they're doing, and they're probably not certified or qualified either. Anyway, most places will sell this stuff in rolls of 54 square feet. A roll about this wide, about 16 feet long, usually about anywhere from $85 to $100. And Amazon typically sells it for about $82. So another reason installers won't use it is because they're just too lazy. It takes an extra step and they don't want to take the extra time to do this. So you want to make sure that your tile installer is either certified by the Tile Council of North America here, or that they at least have the handbooks and they know what they're doing, because I'll show you in a second here why these handbooks are so important. So for example, here's our installing tile over a wood subfloor. So we open up to our table of contents and we look down our list here and we go, oh, interior floors over wood, that's what we're doing, page 150. And then we flip over to page 150. In every scenario you have in your house or your building, wherever you're building, see how they have all these different stack ups here. So here they're showing you, there's the floor joist with 16-inch on center. This here is the subfloor right here, the wood right above it. Then you're going to start to see some of your layers here. Now here they're showing two optional membranes. One would be like a crack isolation or waterproofing membrane down here, and they have room for another membrane up here too, right before you place the tile here. See, so your tile is going to be the very top right here. Then the bond coat is going to be there. Okay. So what I'm surprised about is that they actually show the membrane as being optional, when in my opinion they ought to have some sort of either crack isolation membrane. So here you can see they're talking about the membrane options here, and they're specifying that if you use a waterproofing membrane, the A118.10 spec applies to it here. And so of course remember that Ditra is not only a waterproofing membrane, it is also an uncoupling membrane. So we're going to pull up the spec for this for A118.10 and see what it's requiring in there. And then you see here how it says maximum joist spacing 16 inches on center. I can't tell you how many houses I've been in where the spacing was larger than that. So you have a lot of sagging and moving of the floor. And I tell people, if it's bigger than 16 inch, you either have to sister up the joists and get that distance smaller, or you have to just do away with tiling altogether up there. Okay, so now we'll go to our ANSI specs here, and we'll go to 118.10. We'll see what's going on there. Here you can see on A118.10, you have the ANSI specifications for load-bearing bonded waterproof membrane for thin-set ceramic tile and dimensional stone. So what they do is they do a whole bunch of tests on these products here. They do tests here like for fungus and microorganisms, and you can see they do a whole litany of tests here: seam strength, breaking strength, dimensional stability, waterproofness, shear strength here. And the one that seems to pop up the most here is this 7-day water immersion shear strength right here, and the requirement here being the average shear strength greater than 50 psi. So that's a number that we see that pops up a lot. So you want to make sure whatever material you're using will conform to that spec of 50 psi. Okay, so now you can see we are dry fitting our Schluter Ditra product down onto the floor here. And now this is the second floor of a townhouse, a two-house. And usually you have wood subfloors, and we think there is a wood subfloor here, but maybe the builder poured a level of cement on top of it. They do that sometimes too. It never hurts to put down this Ditra even on a cement floor on the second floor. But anyway, it's always been my policy on an upper floor to put Ditra down, and if you ever have, you know, wood subfloors on a second floor, I would never in a million years consider tiling without putting. And then you can see that this is a modified mortar that we're using. We're using the Schluter's All Set, which is made specifically with Ditra and Curdy and all of their other products. But it takes the guesswork out of, do I need to use modified thin set or unmodified thin set? Because as long as you use Schluter's All Set on their products, you can use it across the board on their products without having to worry about switching to the modified thin set or the unmodified thin set as required by different materials in their family of product. So here you can see we have basically 2 sheets of it dry fitted, and we're going to fill the seam in the middle with Curdy band. Okay, so this is the preferred trowel to use. They want you to use this one here. It's a 1/4 inch by 3/16 V-notch trowel. Now here, where the Schluter Ditra meets the bathtub, we have to apply silicone to help complete the waterproofing of the connection there. Okay, so here you tool down the silicone because you don't want it to pile up and lose your ability to make a good 90-degree corner here with the Curdy band. Right here, you're seeing that we're starting to lay down some of the mortar bed here for the Curdy band that we have to install here at this connection. So the Curdy band will help make this connection here waterproof. So you can see what you do here is just lay the Curdy band flat on top, all the way up against the bathtub there, and it will sit on top of the silicone as well. And then we'll use our trowel and just trowel out the extra. So you can see it's been installed there all the way across, and we've got most of the mortar in place, filling in all of the little waffle holes. Okay, so here you can see we're just dry testing, putting some tiles down and figuring out what's the best way to make this look. So as we look around in here, we figured with this tile this would look really nice with a subway pattern tile. It'll look very classy. Alright, so I'm going to take my first tile and I'm going to back butter in good. Just make sure the cells are filled in on the back. Make sure it's keyed in, that way we know we have pretty good adhesion. I aim for 100% coverage. Love this back butter buddy. I've been using it for years. See, it's crucial that you check multiple directions when you're doing this. And actually this has the bubble on the top that you can look through also. So you go this way, you go that way, and you make sure. Okay, so now I'm going to clear about 3/4 of an inch or so there from the end, so I can stick in my little Raimondi spacers there. And then I can set the next tile. Okay, now we're going to put the wedges in. And likewise, you can tell the second piece is nice and level. And when I look down, straight down into the bubble, put the spirit level there, make sure it doesn't wiggle. It's perfectly level there. And that's how you know you've done it right, when you lay a 4-foot level across the 3 tiles and it's perfect. It doesn't rock or anything. Nice and rock steady. See that? Doesn't go that way. It doesn't seesaw at all. Want to jack him off the floor a little bit just so he's not touching the floor. Okay, so here we are the next morning. The tile has had overnight to dry. And wouldn't you know, we had the 2 cases of tile, but we ran just shy. I had to go buy a whole nother case just to get these 3 smaller pieces here done. And the 4th one that will go there to the left of the cabinet. Tile leveling system did its job quite well. And you can see our spirit level shows everything is nice and level. Okay, so you can see that it's nice and level across the floor, and even if I turn the level there at a 45-degree angle, you can see it's nice and level. It should be level all the way around, no matter what degree we put it at. There shouldn't be any rocking. See how it's nice and perfect? That's because we use that tile leveling system, so it kept all of these tiles perfect with no lippage between the tiles, and so it stayed nice and flat all the way across. You know, you won't see any gaps running underneath the level as you go across the floor. Now, a lot of times when you're using construction products, they'll have like these ANSI standards and other standards that they conform to printed on them. They're not just there for decoration. You should be examining these and determining how these work. So we already looked at the ANSI A118.10 here. And this also says it complies with the ESR 2467. So as you can see here, I got a copy of the ICC evaluation. This is their ESR 2467 test results here. And you can see here it shows everything they did. This was actually done in August of 2019 here. And it shows the Schluter product that they evaluated and the scope. Well, I just wanted to remind you, if you're finding this video helpful so far, hey, do us a favor, give us a thumbs up down below. That will help other people find this video too. It will make it more popular. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, man, what are you waiting for? Go ahead, click that subscribe button down below there and click the little gray bell icon next to it. Otherwise, YouTube will not notify you when we upload a video because you don't want to miss one of our videos. Well, thanks so much for joining us today, folks, and we will see you on the next one.